Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining. Let me start with the agenda. So Stefan and I have 4 main topics prepared for you today. We'll start with extensions, proceed with a bit of an update on panel API commands, introduce new API commands, and then go over all the new features in command record and playback, in other words, HWC language. Let's start with the extensions. So extensions are not a new topic for us, right? They have been around for quite a few versions. What they are essentially programs integrated in HyperWorks, and their mission is to enhance the user experience. So, you might be familiar with this concept from other pieces of software, some call it add-ons. Essentially, it's something extra, right, that you are bringing to the user, some extra functionality or some extra customization that help them deliver their tasks faster, more efficiently. As I mentioned, extensions, the concept of them and the functionality in HyperWorks has been around since version 2021.1. And from there, it became a framework feature, essentially. So any application sharing the common framework can expose extensions, the mechanism, and use it as a gate for custom content. At the moment, HyperWorks is using it and also Inspire. The big step forward in this version is the multi-client support, which we'll discuss in a second in more detail. And last but not least, I want to point out to the main sort of access point when it comes to extensions, and that is the drop-down menu file. And then towards the bottom, you will see the option Extension Manager. So let's review all the highlights for 2022.1. Multi-client support. It's a big step forward. It means that users can create extensions for all clients in HyperWorks. And it also means that a single extension can include content for multiple clients, right? So if I want to customize or bring a custom content to HyperMesh and HyperView and HyperGraph, and it's sort of a one consistent extension, I can bring it as a single package. But of course, you can have multiple packages per client. It's entirely up to you what fits the need. Second, we've got a new extension manager. So this is the extension manager that you will be able to see in Inspire since version 2021.2, I believe. It's now the common extension manager across all the applications. So using extensions, and during the live demo, we will have a bit of a better look at it. This screenshot is relatively small, but the huge benefit is that we can provide more details to the user through the manager, and also links to the actual location of the extension, and also a link to the documentation. Last point I've got here is custom toolbars. They are now officially supported. Until now, we were able to create custom ribbons, ribbon pages, drop-down menus, and now officially you can include custom toolbars in your extension package as well. Looking at the structure of the extension and the files and folders that there can be, it has changed, obviously, and became more complex in the sense that it caters for multiple clients now. So until version 2022, your extension would only cover customization for HyperMesh client. You can contain, it can contain the initial TCL file, ribbons, toolbars, contexts, resources, etc. And now the structure can look a bit different, right? I can bring custom content to HyperMesh and sort of organize it into a separate folder in the extension. I can have a custom content for HyperView, Motion View client, HyperGraph as well, right? All of them are supported. And last few words before we jump into a quick live demo. The future plans and something that, the multi-client support opens up as an opportunity is looking at all the custom content that is currently offered through preference files, and gradually start phasing them, transferring them into extensions. And the 2 main advantages I want to highlight here is that, well, in case of preference files, we can have only one loaded at a time, right? So only one set of custom content can be available at a time to the user. In case of extensions, you can load as many as you want. On top of that, you can customize the current framework, okay? So the new GUI. So a quick look how it looks. Let me jump to HyperWorks session. And in order to save time, I jump straight into the extension manager so you can see it in action. All your extensions, if I close the detail view, will be listed in the manager as a set of tiles. As soon as I click on one, I've got the extra information. As I said, a live link to the location of the extension, so I can go straight there into the File Explorer and explore what's inside, or I can click on documentation and see the extra documentation there. Okay. If you need to add more extension, you would simply click on the Add button. And what is really powerful is the search logic of extensions. So you don't have to point to the very specific low-level folder where the extension is located, but you can click on your top-level folder and it will search through the folders, locate all the extension files and understand where the packages sit. What Stefan and I prepared for you here is an extension demo package that we will share after the GTA session. I will not go into too much detail because Stefan will actually use it live for his demos of the HWC, so we'll see a bit more how it works. But just as the highlights that we mentioned, we've seen the extension manager. I wanted to point out to just usual features, right? Custom ribbons, custom drop-down menus, where we can see the icons as well. I can maybe quickly run just one, showing you custom context as well. Okay. And then if I switch to, for example, the Hyper-V client, you will see dedicated GTA custom ribbon, custom pull-down menu here, okay, and also custom toolbar, right, which you can undock and dock as you need to. So all these you will see one more time in action once Stefan introduces all the new features in HWC. Last but not least, while I'm here, Hypergraph, same case, custom ribbon page and custom toolbar. Right, now let's go back to our presentation and very briefly touch upon the topic of panel APIs, or API commands. I'm sure this topic will be addressed in other webinars. What we'll do is take it from the customization scripting perspective. The panels, as you might know, are scheduled for a gradual phase out. Quite few have actually disappeared in the current version, 2022.1, and the end of life is currently scheduled for 2023. From the scripting perspective, this has an impact on the APIs. Few of them listed on this slide, as you can see. So eventually, once the panel APIs, the panels are completely removed, the panel APIs will be gone as well. While the panels gradually disappear, the commands are still in action, they continue working, but if you refer to a discontinued paneling them, you will see sort of a silent failure, so no error message, but no action will happen. So you might see that if some custom scripts are calling the specific panel, pushing that panel in front of the user, if the panel is no longer in the product, that means that command will just silently fail. From, again, scripting perspective, this is covered in a bit more detail in the API Programmer's Guide. So you can find the full list of commands that are affected or will be affected by the complete removal, and also useful links to the new set of commands that are related to contexts. And with that, really, the big question is, so how can I replace these commands in my script, or what should I replace them with? And yeah, the answer is context API commands, which is the next topic on our list. Okay. Before we go into the details, let's introduce contexts. Well, contexts are really, it's the universe that you step into when you click on an action on a ribbon, whether it's a ribbon in HyperMesh. Here we've got an example of a drag context, or dragging lines or surfaces. We've got as an example a hotspot context in HyperView. We've got contexts in motion, so motion view as well, right? So these are your basically replacement of the panels. And if your current script points user to a panel or pushes a panel in front of the user, These will have to be replaced by a command that enters a context for the user. Apologies. Now, those were core contexts that are available in your product today, but you can also create custom contexts through extensions, as you can imagine. You can create your own guide bars, option menus, option dialogues that are accessible through the hamburger icon, or you can also create custom micro dialogues. Okay. Going into too much technical details, I just want to introduce how creating a custom context works at a sort of high level. Writing a custom context means creating two files, an XML file that describes the GUI aspect of it, so that describes the guide bar itself, drop-down menus that might be there, selectors, and of course the action buttons at the end. It also describes the options dialog, micro dialogues, and everything that's there from the GUI perspective. And then sort of young to it is the TCL file that contains the ITCL classes, the business logic. So that's your custom script that you're exposing to the user through the context. And also it provides that registration mechanism to link the GUI with that business logic. And this TCL file, that's, for example, the place where those context API commands actually live. So more into detail on them. They allow you to control and work with contexts in HyperWorks through the TCL interpreter, and it can be either through a console, we'll see it live in a second, or you can create scripts to automate certain steps. Last but not least, you can literally as simple as just enter a context for the user as part of your automation or customization solution. In version 2022.1, we are introducing 4 API commands with quite a few individual sort of methods. We've got a CTX command that provide the main interaction with an active context, a CTX manager that provide you the standard sort of functionalities, entering, exiting, and registering a custom context. We've got a CTX selection that is supported currently in HeyJump client that allows you to interact with the selector, with the active selector, and for example, push into the selection or clear the selection, things like that. And last but not least, we've got the CTX UI command that allows you to control the UI aspect of the context. So essentially what is defined in the XML, you can tweak on the fly through this command. And in terms of where these commands live in the documentation, you will see them in HyperWorks reference guide, in the TCL TK command section, and then very close right next to post query commands that were introduced in a previous version. Okay. Right, and now, as I promised, very quick demo of how they look and how you can work with them. So let's go back to our HyperWorks session. I'll go back to HeyJump client, and once we're there, we'll show you how to execute them and what sort of functionality they offer. Right, let's take as an example that I want to maybe automate the steps of user going through the 2D meshing context and surface meshing a component. All right, that should be simple enough and fast enough for a live demo here. First of all, I need to understand how my context that I want to enter is called. For that, I can use the CTX UI command. I've got them here in the cheat sheet. And with the method print, I can print the full content definition in the XML file of my context. All right, if I scroll to the top, at the beginning, I will see the name of the context. All right, so this is something I can copy paste into my script. And I know that, okay, if I need to enter this specific context, this is how I will guide my API towards it, right? So this is the unique identifier. Now, before we mesh it, what else can we do? Maybe we can adjust the element size. Again, from that XML definition, the DOM, you can find the name of your element size option name, okay? And I can modify it again through APIs. So I've already done that for us before the webinar. So to save a bit of time, let's just paste the command straight away. So we've got the CTX API with the method set option, and this is the name of that specific option in the GUI. All right. So if got the right syntax, we have now updated the element size to 0.001. And if I do a slide modification, we should see the value being updated. Okay, so the default value was 10.0, and now we're on 1000, which is what we're aiming for. And other things that you can do, we can get the name of the active selector. Again, I'll copy paste from the little script file I've got prepared. So CTX selection active will return the name of our active selector, and I can assign a name to it and use it as a variable to refer to it later on. Okay. Now I've got the name, so I can push something into our selection, then add method. I will call our variable selection name. And here I mentioned on the previous slide that this selection method is supported only in HeyGem client for the time being. And it actually maps all the create mark or HeyGem underscore create mark methods or options. So we can use one of those, for example, by comp ID, and pass the ID of our component. So let's go with 23, and you can see that all those surfaces of component 23 are now selected. Now, we've got this mesh button here. Again, if you read through that XML definition that we printed on the screen a minute ago, you would see that that command is linked to a function called proceed. So if I execute it through my CTX control API, I can execute the meshing, and we've got the component meshed. And last but not least, if I'm done here, I can use the manager to exit. Okay, so these are the functionalities that are offered through these APIs. As that, you can use them to enter and exit context. That's sort of baseline, really, to mimic what previous custom solutions might have done with panels. On top of that, you can control a bit what's going on. Remember, pretty much always it is bound to the active context. So we need to be in the context to be able to work with it, with the selector, etc. But also for fully customized solutions, these are the APIs that you need to develop your own scripted contexts, right? So things like we saw earlier here, custom context, right? All this is defined through this CTX sort of group of APIs. And now let's go back to our slides, and as a very last topic before I hand it over to Stefan, I wanted to introduce new group of commands, framework commands. Now here the credit goes to the UI team. I just wanted to mention them here as they appear as a new chapter in the API reference guide, and I wanted to introduce the functionality as well. They are available under the HWF HyperWorks framework namespace or namespace ensemble. At the moment, really, we're trying to group all the application level commands there that provide some sort of framework operation functionality. We have only one command there. You will find more in the namespace that are currently private, not public, and we'll see. We might expose more in the future. We're starting with the set background color. I said this is something that the UI guys introduced. It allows you to change the background color as a sort of one-click solution if you need to change the contrast and review very quickly things on screen. And again, I will close with pointing to the help location. They sit right next to the context commands in the tree structure, right? And you will find more details on them there. And with that, I will hand it over to Stefan to show the extension demo in action and guide you through all the new features in command record and playback.
Okay, I will show you now the news in HWC, and for this one, I will use extensions. So the whole demo will be based on the new extension feature with the multi-client support. First, for HWC, a quick recap. 2021, we started with Hyperview, 60%, 10% Hypergraph, very little just import and framework 20%. Over the whole 2021 cycle, we increased the usage for HyperView to 75%, Hypergraph to 1/4, and the framework to 30% with the new report support. For 2022, we increased in HyperView to 80%. With hotspots, phase, and DB query, etc. Hypergraph make a huge leap. We were not able to show all the stuff live. Last time we show only slides. I will do some of these demos at the end of this presentation. And framework, we increased to 40% with report phase 2. Now in 2022.1, which is the main topic today, we increased the usage to 85%. We will show measure and notes are now fully supported. The contexts with HWC recording and playback. Measures and notes can now multiple editing in one shot. We have results on entity selections and minor topics like refresh results and multiple notes tracing. For Hypergraph, as I said, the big chunk was in 2022. We have advanced fitting support, which is important for some customers. I will show here more demos. And in 2022, it's a derived load case, mark for national nodes, and table view are under construction. But as I said, there is no guarantee that they will make it. So this demo is based on extensions. The new multi-client extensions. The extension is based on the XML file, as you see here, and this extension contains actions, and they can be used in ribbons, toolbars, and menus. I will use this for loading the sessions, executing HWC code and TCL macros, and I will also show you quickly inside of this some little tips and tricks when you get this thing. So the first thing is, this is the major code for extension. You see the XML, the basic core, which is the core features like version, product support, etc. Then for each profile, Hypermesh, HyperView, and Hypergraph here, the links to the ribbon, init, and toolbar TCL. So here you will see for HyperView the action list, and you see I used here basically for demo purposes. I can use the same action in ribbon page or in the drop-down menu. And just when I load the init TCL inside of the HyperView, for example, I use one trick. This file here loads every TCL file but itself. So if I want to expand my demo, I just throw in more and more TCL files. They will be automatically loaded. And for example, if I use here one of the scripts, they will be registered this procedure. And then when you look in the ribbon XML, you will see this is the HyperView ribbon XML. This was toolbar. So I animate all pages. You will see here that it uses the namespace of my ribbon and then just the procedure name. And this will be shown, this action item shown on the toolbar. So that's quickly here for a little demo, the quick access for legacy tools. I put some, you can try out this capture screen and capture active window with special features functions. One thing I want to show is one of the MVP toolbar features, which was to animate the active page or each plot window separately to make sure everything is up to date. I included this in this toolbar. As you see, I load here the animation demo, and now I run here this window all, and then you see the code I showed you. It's just executed and everything back to where it was. So for hypergraph, the examples I show, we also this for the toolbar, for example, I had here this captures one prepared. I have two sets of fit functions. One is based on legacy MVP. I will show you later the new stuff, which is fit based on HWC, which is now new, and then you will see how simple it had become to do your stuff with HWC. So let's start with the news in 2022.1. So for HyperView, we have improved the measures. So measure handling is significantly simplified. We have now the range syntax. We have also like stuff like all instead of range. So multiple editing of nodes become very easy. And we also reduce the number of commands when you create a measure group or a measure. It will have only 2 lines of code, the creation with the label and then the modify and the linked entities, for example, when you change or modify this. So that is a good simplification, and we also added the full support for cylindrical and spherical systems. They are now recorded exactly as they are. So for if you use the systems here, cylindrical or spherical systems, all the commands are now show exactly RTP or RTZ, etc. So let's have a quick live demo. I load this one. And here you'll see I add the measures. I use this one with a script to add these measures that I did manually. And now I want to edit these measures. I can go there and change here whatever color or whatever. And you see this is now with range syntax. And when I want to form a script to do a whole bunch of stuff in one line, I can do it. So very simple to modify now all these and have simplified commands. The same is for nodes. Here we had also the range syntax support, and also the support of the copy command is now supported. So quick live demo, I load here the nodes from ID. You see, I load all these nodes and arrange them. Now I want to change them. I just prepared some commands. So I want to change the whole syntax. Oops, it was the wrong one. You see the positioning, offset, explode with offset, font size, etc. And the text, everything changes in one shot. And when I want to change other options like so very simple to do. I also want to show here when I modify the nodes, I create here the nodes with a hotspot. And this one shows it fires up a complete hotspot search in the background and creates my nodes. So I say here, modify, delete all, and with this one, and now I want to modify these hotspot nodes because I haven't done it in the before, and very simple to get now all the information as I need it. So for the node and measure context, we now have everything what we do in the context is supported. For nodes and measures, we also added new commands, which were only accessible so far with the GUI. So when I go and what is it? Yeah. With the measure context, and I go to the context results and to And then you can see, I can say now, place that entity, or I can rotate it, etc. And you see everything is recorded. And when I do this one, whatever, and back. So everything what I do in context are recorded and can be playbacked for nodes and measures. So for results, this was asked for. We haven't had the result on an entity selection. It was always the full model which we recorded. This is now supported. It's supported for scalar, vector, tensor, and ISO. And marks will be used. You will see here we have multiple commands per line. So to minimize the number of lines, when I go there, GTA, go there, go to my contour panel and say, let's say here, clear, that we see the results nicer. So clear my contour, and then I go there and select a whole bunch of components and apply. Then you see only these ones will be contoured. And this is now recorded and can be easily playbacked, in a script or. Yeah. So there are other new minor features when for the multiple node tracing, which was important for Crash. We now record everything. So we have tracing nodes and a tracing of the mode steps will be recorded, and you can easily also, the interactive selection for these nodes, if you want to do it in a macro, are supported. Refresh results are also supported. Now, and we have support options for scalar, vector, and tensor. So if a user wants to here and say, control has to be active. If he wants to isolate this component, I wants the legend, etc. adapt, he can do with these refresh options. You see, this is now recorded, and when I have multiple clients, also when I have scalar, vector, and tensor also used, they are by default all true, but I can, of course, set some of them to false if I want, and then when I fire this up, it will not affect these kind of results. So for HG, so we introduced the fit stuff. This was so far not supported. So auto fit curves on the browser. This is critical functionality in the past. So to fit X and Y and stuff for multiple clients was used very often by some MV2P toolbar scripts, and now this script can be used by one single command. I will show this to you. So I go here and load the hypergraph demo. So I need the fit demo. Now I want to, for example, fit for with a legacy script. You will see it works, and in the HWC, nothing is recorded for now because it was this complex TCL script. Now you will see, okay, it's just very simple, one command. And when I want to do this one, X, I can do it. And this one is, the range was set to all. It was put for all. It cannot be, of course, a subselection. And when you want to see here in the script, you will see that there's in toolbar XML, you will see that for the fit here, this one is the TCL script, and this one is the new HWC command. You will see here I have this procedure fired up, which uses the whole complex procedure, and this one, it's just one command. And this does the whole stuff for the whole session. So very simple, very complex, and very simple it has become to do this kind of operations. And yeah, it will be recorded, whatever you do. So for 2022, I just want to show some of this stuff. So HW2 has driven the need to combine edit and stack math operations. So stack math basically become a context, and this one has now, together with a still existing edit panel, the exactly same syntax. This is pretty convenient, and so to see a live demo, I go there and I go to the stack math operation. For example, I say trim, and I can do it here in the active window. Say OK, and now you will see here this command. If I think, OK, that's good, I can simply modify the selection or do it again on the GUI. So I say page 1 to 2, for example, 1 to 2, and then you will see all this trimming will be done, additional operations on all the curves, you know, fit this trim operation on 1 and 2, but page 3 I haven't used, it's still unaffected. So very powerful, very quick to reproduce complex math operations here for all the stack math operations in macros. So the context support is now everything what I do in the context is now recorded. So for notes and datums, quick demo, I go to my chart and I see I create, and then when I go out of the context and or double click and go back and edit here something, my name, you see it's recorded and I can replay, and this is done for all if I move curves in the context or datum lines, etc. Everything is be recorded. So the curve creation, that was a huge step forward. We now support in HyperGraph the creation of curves in the browser. This was also driven by HWC. So if you see, if I click on a window and create a curve, this curve will be created. Then I modify it in the entity editor. This everything triggers, of course, a command as soon as I click in the entity editor. And this one can be combined also. These edit options can also put under the create, you know, so that the create function contains all the edit options. So I can make it around one line if I want to do a highly complex macro. And then, of course, by simply changing the range argument, I can do it for a lot of curves. So let's have a quick live demo here. GTA. Okay, so I want here to create a curve, you know, a resultant. For this one, I just fire up a quick command which hides the already existing curves, the resultant, and modifies the existing ones. If I click here, I go to the window and I create a curve now. You will see it's recorded. I can go to this curve and modify it, can change the label, etc., and everything will be recorded. This one I have already prepared this command, and you will see, oh, this one does it exactly all in one shot, which I have already done before. And then I can say, okay, now I want to get this one done for all pages, and my whole session is modified. So this, in addition, we also added the plot window support. This is pretty powerful. This plot entity in HWC allows, as we have seen, to create curves, but it also allows to really reduce complex script to a few lines of code. Imagine you want to search for all the plots which have the header head or any other kind of property what the plot entity has, and then you want to add this a resultant to it. Or you want to find another plot which has header lower torso and then modify the background. I will show here quickly 2 demos which will do this one quite nicely. So the first demo I will show is the summary curves. For this one, I run the code here, and you will see here the header head gets a resultant curve. This was the first line. I say mark create type of type plot, but the mark name is header mark, so I can have labeled marks which I can reuse, and the functionally is header. I can also use every other property to add stuff to this and filter. So, and then the next was, okay, create on this mark. I don't have the range, but say, okay, find for all the plots for this mark and add this resultant curve. And you see here header, and here is one which has the header head, and on page 3 is also a plot which has it, and they found it and did it. Imagine how much coding you would have to do in TCL to do this kind of stuff. So, the last demo is then for the plot properties. This one, I modify the mark. So this one will find all the plots which have the lower torso, and they are, but still in an additional condition, they are on page 1 and 2. Then I want to add other plots which have the upper torso also in range 1 and 2, and then I changed the background color transparency here so that it's obvious. So here lower and upper torso are found in page 1. There was one with upper torso found on page 2, but the lower torso and page 3 is ignored. So that gives a quick introduction there, what you can do. Here is a recording, which I will also send out about this kind of functionalities. And this finishes my presentation, and I thank you for your attention.